Good evening, hello and welcome ladies and gentlemen to round number 11 of the UK Sim Racing Community GT3 League Season 7 as brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC known as iRacing. This series of course sponsored by Swello Ameda Sim Racing Coaching, and my goodness what round we have got for you today in the fact that we are back in the United States of America to kick off the final 2 rounds of the season, with today marking the final sprint race round. Out of the 12 rounds, of course, it was the case that we've had 3 feature race rounds and 9 sprint race rounds, and this is the 9th and final one of them. And what a venue to be holding the final sprint race at, given the fact that we are in the state of Ohio at the Mid-Ohio Sports Club circuit. And it is the case that this circuit hits hard, it hits fast, and we'll talk more about the specifics, the ins and outs, and everything in between with regards to this circuit in short order. But in terms of this broadcast, of course, it is the case we are bringing you a post-round broadcast. The racing occurred as of yesterday on Sunday the 28th of August 2022, but today is the following Monday the 29th of August, so all the racing action has occurred previously, but it is the case that I as your host and commentator do not know how things play out, whether it's in the final warm-up practice session which our drivers are currently going through, in qualifying, or indeed in the race itself. And if you are tuning in as one of the drivers who did take part yesterday, can we please just ask you politely not to spoil what exactly happens for those who are tuning in who are not aware of what exactly happens indeed for your host and commentator here, as I do not know the results or outcomes. But where are my manners, let me introduce myself. My name is Paul Walsh, also known as TX141 or Brit in the Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And here's the case, this broadcast is being brought to you live on the official UK Sim Racing Twitch channel. Here's the case, if you go to twitch.tv/UK Sim Racing, you can tune in there. But as our drivers continue to get ready, what a venue, as we say, and indeed what a season we are still to wrap up, because as we look to the season ahead, well, it's almost the case that we've crossed all of it out now. In fact, we're right down in the bottom right hand corner, and today of course is the round at Mid-Ohio. And after today, our final round will be the roller coaster ride feature race to wrap up our 3 feature race rounds. That'll be round number 12 at Road Atlanta, with the racing concluding on the 4th of September, and the day after on the 5th of September we'll bring you all the racing action as if it were live. But the story to that point, of course, it was the case all the way back on the 19th of June. We began at the Hockenheim Ring in Germany. We then made our way over to the United States for the first time for Long Beach in what was an absolutely brilliant round of racing which was brought live from the circuit at the time. Then we made our way to Japan across the Pacific Ocean for Fuji, another thriller, before then making our way back to the United States for our first feature race round of the season in round number 4 at the revival place of road racing in the United States of America, the state of New York at Watkins Glen International. We then made our way a little bit north to Canada for circuit Charles Villeneuve, and again we saw a thriller there, and indeed a season history being made with our gold driver Nathan Foster taking the overall win. And then we made our way to Spa-Francorchamps on what was round number 6 for a sprint race there, originally billed as a feature race, but we switched it to a sprint to avoid Spa-Francorchamps overload, given the fact that it coincided with the 24 hours of Spa on iRacing's official calendar. After that we had no break as we went to the second half of the season. We went from Belgium in Europe to Down Under in Australia for Sandown, the home of horsepower, and what a brilliant race that was on the 31st of July, before returning to Europe for the Hungaroring, the circuit that's all about track position and qualifying, and we did see plenty in overtake and moment there. And then we made our way to Japan once again, the final time for Japan on round number 9, which was Suzuka, and indeed some thrillers there. And definitely, if you hadn't had a chance to look back at all the broadcasts and you have to pick one out in particular, tune into the Suzuka round, because the overtakes that were made there were the creme of the creme so far of the season, we must say. And then last time out, of course, we're at the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit back in round number 10 for our second feature race round, and we did see plenty of battles there at the Nürburgring, albeit on the shorter variant compared to what everyone would typify as the Green Hell. We stayed on the Grand Prix loop, but by no means was the racing of a lesser quality. But now we are here today at Mid-Ohio. And speaking of Mid-Ohio, let's take a look at our circuit. Of course, the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, we're running the full layout of it, located near the village of Lexington in the Troy Township of Morrow County, Ohio, the state of Ohio in the United States of America. And this circuit, as we can see from the circuit map provided to us by simracingwiki.com, is made up of 13 corners. Now, it looks quite simple on paper, but it is the case that these corners come very fast. It is the case we have a sweeping left-hander at turn number 1 from the start-finish straight, which will see our drivers charge all the way up to the keyhole hairpin at turn turn number 2. And as they roll the way out of that hairpin, which, do not be deceived, is a medium speed hairpin. It's not a low speed hairpin, it's medium speed. They come charging out of the keyhole, through the kink of 3, all the way down towards turn number 4. And when they make their way through the sweeping sequence of turns 4, 5, 6, 7, through the S's, all the way out to the charge to Thunder Valley at turn number 9, it is the case then we head into the final part of the circuit, which will see our drivers drop down into a proverbial valley through turns 10 and 11 before making their way through the right-hander at turn 12 at the carousel, and then the kink of 13 to complete the lap and start it all again. And with lap times expected to just be over 1 minute 20 here, it is the case we're going to be seeing plenty of laps over our sprint race distance. But indeed, somebody else who has seen plenty of laps of the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course is of course our title sponsor for this series, and that is Suelio Almeida himself from the Sim Racing Coaching Package. And let's hear from our sponsor.
Hello guys, my name is Suelio Almeida. I am a multi-champion sim racer and professional racing coach with more than 1,300 hours of experience so far. My background is a little bit odd. I'm actually a master in piano, in classical piano. I have more than 16 years and more than 10 international and national prizes in piano competitions and music competitions. With my musical background and all experience about technique development, I brought these skills to sim racing and developed many new methods and many new ways to efficiently practice and find time in racing as well. Because of that background, I did very well since my very first coaching session that I started because I had to pay my tuition here in Montreal doing my master's degree at the University of Montreal in piano. This is the rig that I had when I started my first coaching sessions 2.5 years ago. By that time, I was already within the 0.38% top drivers in the world in iRacing. Back then, I was already able to claim my first overall season in Formula 3 in iRacing, which is a very difficult achievement as I was competing with former World Championship drivers. I ended up collecting many other championships as well. In 2021, I was able to claim the Porsche Esports Spring Challenge Canada Championship title,
Suelio Almeida in the number 3, your champions,
which actually put me in a real Porsche 911 on a real track for the first time in my life. And the key for that, guys, was proper practice, efficient practice. I really used my hours to always learn something new. Every time I was going to practice, I was really looking for new information, external information, opinions from teammates, from friends. I did coaching sessions. I really researched. I read books about setups. I read articles, videos about racing techniques and how to develop them. And I really wanted to, always grow, never hit a plateau. I really wanted to always learn something. And nowadays, my passion is teaching. After having worked for more than 1,300 sessions, coaching sessions, each session being 1 hour, and seeing all the development on students going from 2,000 iRating to 5,000 iRating, and students who were having problems with anxiety or not being able to learn, not being able to improve, really conquering their races, getting their first wins, and really improving and becoming more confident and happier, I really figured out that that was my fulfilling mission. I really wanted to teach more, and I was gathering information. I was gathering and understanding the patterns of the technique and how we learn faster, how we develop our technique faster. I was even able to apply all that to my own technique. With my coaching sessions, I started learning how to coach myself, and that is what this course is about.
To hearing from our sponsor himself there, Suelio Almeida, and it is the case that his sim racing coaching can take your racing experience on iRacing up to the next level, for it is the case he is a multi-champion in numerous overall official series and leagues on iRacing, including the 2021 Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge Canada Series, and it is the case that in terms of his contribution to the prize pool for this series, the winner of each class, platinum through to bronze, shall win a pass to Suelio's motor racing checklist course, a key fundamental if you're looking to take your sim racing on iRacing up to the next level, particularly in the GT3 class. But we come from our sponsor then to our schedule for tonight in this round number 11 of the series, and it is the case, as we can see their times in British summertime, that's BST or UTC at +1, they are as follows. In just under 5 minutes time, we'll be bringing you the qualifying session, and you'll notice there we say it's going to be 15 minutes long. That is not an error. It is the case that due to an error by our admins, it was the case that rather than having a closed qualifying session where each driver would have an isolated instance onto the circuit in which to put in their qualifying laps over 4 fast laps. It is the case instead, it will be an open qualifying session where we have 15 minutes where all of our drivers are permitted to take to the circuit and set their best possible laps. It's going to be a little bit different in qualifying today, but we're going to bring you that full qualifying experience, because I know some of you tuning in right now will probably be jumping up and down your seats and absolutely celebrate at the fact we'll see all of our drivers out on circuit. And whilst we only have 19 in attendance today, I can tell you it's the fact that we've got a lot of critical championship contenders here across the classes, and they'll all be itching to try and out one another in the qualifying session. But after that is the case, we'll be setting our grid immediately after at 8:15 for the sprint race. 40 minutes of racing action with that mandatory pit stop thrown in there as well. Who will take the checker flag when their respective classes come in the end? We will find out very shortly indeed. But as our drivers make their way on around at this point, we do look to one driver who already knows his fate in the fact that he was able to secure it last time out. Although it is the case, he gets it a little bit wrong there coming out to turn number 2 and jumps back to the pits immediately. And that is Jonathan Hitchin, who of course after that second place finish at the Nürburgring last time out in our second feature race round in round number 10, secured the overall championship and the Platinum Class Championship with 2 rounds to spare. And I think it's the case we can all give Jonathan Hitchin a big congratulations on what's been a brilliant run of form all season in the McLaren MP4 12C, and we look forward to seeing the number 21 driver potentially defend his title in the future, and more on the future in a brief moment in terms of what lies ahead for UK sim racing. So the question is, in the Platinum class, what do we now need to focus on? Well, it is the battle for P2 between Cy Anthony, the man on a charge in the Symphony Esports Mercedes, the number 27 car here, the Mercedes AMG, and his rival for that second place in the Platinum class, and that is Sam Congreve here, parked up, waiting to go into qualifying right now. But these two have really picked up the pieces where Hitchin has not been on the pace or been on the form, and it is a thriller between the pair of them in the fact that they are only separated at this point less than 10 points between the pair of them, and you can imagine they'll both be looking to try and outdo one another here tonight to get the best possible setup for the season finale. Meanwhile, it's the case that in the gold class, Carl McGrath is your championship leader going into tonight with a 12.5 point advantage in the 888 Mercedes there over what is Nathan Foster, the Porsche driver here, the number 52 driver. And Nathan Foster and Carl McGrath have both had brilliant moments over the course of this season, and indeed whoever does well tonight will set themselves up very well. And the question will be, can Carl McGrath achieve another win here today in class and really put that championship out of arm's reach of Foster, or will Foster reel it back in at the most critical moment? But it's not just about our platinum and gold drivers, it's also about our silver drivers. And here is Rob Armstrong, your championship leader in the silver class, leading by 12.5 points over David Larson, who is not in attendance tonight. It's the case he's decided he's not able to make Mid-Ohio, so it will be a drop round to his score, and instead Rob Armstrong, who leads by 12.5 points over David Larson, has to instead worry about the fact that whilst he has a 17 point advantage over Tyson Belenda, who's currently in the pit lane, not in his car at the moment, but in the pit lane, he's still got Tyson Belenda in there in the battle for the championship win, and indeed it could go either way between the two of them, and then it'll be the case that Larson has to get into that fight in the season finale. But we also of course do have our bronze drivers, and here is our winner from last time out in the bronze class at the Nürburgring, Mark Johnson in the 19 car, and well, it's the case that Oscar Rocha leads the bronze championship by 9.5 points over Darren Sharples. Darren Sharples in the pit lane here, as you can see, in the 777 car, and Mark Johnson is a further 11 points behind Sharples by comparison with what is Oscar Rocha, and those three we are expecting will come together for the season finale, because the bronze class has been perhaps the biggest drama of the season. It is the case you cannot take anything for certain in the bronze class, and there's been great racing between our bronze class drivers. Only 3 of them in attendance today, and our championship leader not here, but we do have Sharples, Johnson and James Connolly. And also keep your eyes out for James Connolly, of course, with that win at Suzuka. He's all fired up and looking good going into the latter half of this season. But as qualifying is about to come to an end, it is the case that we're not just here for what happens today and also next week, but also looking ahead to the future of UK sim racing. You may be wondering at this point what comes after what is Season 7 of the GT3 League. Well, I'm pleased to say it is the case that we do already have a Season 8 on the plan and the agenda at UK sim racing community, and it is the case we will have another full season by popular demand, whereby the series will continue with another 12 rounds of action-packed racing starting on Sunday the 18th of September and running on a weekly basis. The format is going to be the same as Season 7, albeit with some slight tweaks, including, but not limited to, 4 endurance rounds instead of 3. We've also got 4 drop weeks instead of 3, a team championship being introduced with 3 drives per team, and you can be part of all this and all the action from start to finish for a price of only £12.50. It is an absolute bargain for 12 rounds of racing, and indeed fully stewarding, post-round stewarding, of course, and live broadcast for it as well. It is the case. There's plenty to look forward to, and, well, we have instructions there on screen if you are interested in sign up. Whether you're an existing league driver or a non-league driver as it currently stands, you can sign up and just follow the instructions on screen to carefully avoid disappointment. But if it's not for you in terms of GT3 League, we also do have the upcoming Season 4 of the Porsche Cup as well. And, well, Season 4 of the Porsche Cup is going to carry on from where Season 3 leaves off as of Thursday, the 22nd of September. 6 rounds of racing running every 2 weeks, with each round including both a sprint and a feature race for you to be able to demonstrate your prowess behind the wheel of the Porsche 992 Cup car. And with league divisions and a team championship on the cards, there is plenty to race for, and you can be on the grid of the Porsche Cup Season 4 for only £10, and that is effectively 12 races are split across 6 rounds, and it's something not to be missed. Now, of course, be a live broadcasted as well, and there will also be a drop week in that space, so it's the case, plenty to play for. But a little bit more news on upcoming series later on. Let's make our way back to the circuit side, and it is the case as we return to circuit side. Qualifying is now underway. Our drivers are out there setting their initial warm-up laps here, and once they've completed those warm-up laps, we will then be heading on around for our first flying laps. And who's going to be our first flying lap driver today? Well, it's going to be none other than our driver who's really come to form recently, and that is Alan Lever, the Gold driver, who makes his way through turn number 12, through 13, and onto the lap. And as he does, let's keep that circuit map up there for you. Charging up towards turn number 1 and into left-hander. It will be a lift of the throttle, then a dab of the brakes to settle the car before rolling the car through the left-hander, and now heading up towards turn number 2. And as he charges on up here, it's a long run up towards turn 2, but getting ready to stamp on the anchors as he makes his way into the braking zone. You can see taking an early apex and then letting the car roll out of the corner, and as he begins to drop it down, he puts the throttle in and charges up towards the kink of 3. Flat out here, and you'll see the kink just as you're about to miss it, and there it is. And as he comes on past the cones, which really mark where the kink corner is, now heading up towards the S's of turns 4 through to 7. Looking for his brake mark and left, braking at the 100 metre board, coming down the gearbox here and rolling the car through the right-hander, bringing it over to the right for the left-hander at turn number 5, but using a bit of apex curve there to get extra rotation as he goes over the rise and now down into the dip for turn number 6, and here going into the main portion of the S's before heading underneath the Honda billboard there. Slightly compromised line with a bit of traffic, but now heading into turns 8 and 9 through the double right here, and as he makes his way through 9, you'll notice going over a crest and down into the valley he goes into turn number 10, the long right-hander. And as he rolls his way on through here, now into the left-hander that follows, it is the case only turns 12 and 13 remain. Braking into turn 12, a very late apex here, but you've got to set the car up nicely for it. Now exiting out here, straight, flat out through 13 and heading to the timeline, and that is a lap from Alan Lever. And what is that lap going to be, I hear you ask? Well, that is going to be a 1:21.896, and immediately we do see that Austin William Campbell goes faster there by almost 8 tenths as more lap times come on in, but still Alan Lever definitely looking on form with regards to his performances over the last couple of rounds and looking to do well here tonight. But as more lap times coming in here, may be the case that he is our overall and platinum champion, but he's not going to leave any points on the table, and he wants every potential virtual and physical trophy if he can. Hitchin goes provisional pole with a 20.253, but behind we see Sam Congreve there, 7 tenths off right now, but you can imagine that he will be thinking about, okay, that's your warm-up, you've got plenty more to go. Cy Anthony meanwhile strikes back with a 20.150, and well, Cy Anthony has really been looking the fastest driver out there over the last couple of rounds. Hitchin, to be fair, has been very fast in qualifying, but it's almost as if Cy Anthony said, whatever you can do, John, I can do as well. And it is the case that Anthony has really been up in the pace as we do look here to Austin William Campbell rolling his way on down and giving way with regards to the previous livery, the Royal Air Force-esque livery of that Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo, now going to a more traditional UK sim racing livery as I'm to understand it here. And as he makes his way through the latter half of the lap, looking good so far as he heads on around the long right-hander of 12 and into the kink of 13. But it's not just about our gold and our platinum drivers, of course. We look to our bronze drivers, and it's Darren Sharples who right now has struck the provisional pole position in the bronze class P13 with what is there a 1:22.36. He is, as it currently stands, only 3 hundredths ahead of Mark Johnson, and these two are looking very close indeed. But as they make the way on around, it is the case that we can see Sharples heading on down the hill, and as he rolls his way on through the long right-hander, turns 8 and 9 here, and heading up towards 10 and 11 in quick succession. Looking on form is Sharples right now, but he's got to respond to Johnson, who has just gone P11 on a 21.510, and looking very good as Mark Johnson, it must be said, as he heads on through the right-hander at 12. But as he makes his way on through here, we say hello to a good number of you in here. With regards to all of you tuning in the Twitch chat, including, oh, there's so many of you here, this is near impossible to account, but I'm going to try and do my best here. It is the case. We say hello to It's Bentley's 306 Rally. We've also got the official UK Sim Racing Twitch channel in there, acts as administrator. We also say hello to CP85, Jackco 26. We've got Mr. Mint 87 as well. Keep it fresh, Mr. Mint. We've also got Solost 1450, Matrix 4701, as we do see here what is Stuart Brown making his way into the pit lane. I think decided to put on a new pair of boots to try and go after that pole position in the gold class, held by Nathan Foster. The delta between the two of them right now 0.3 seconds, but there's plenty more of you in the chat there, as we also see what is our Lever there. I believe that's Alan Lever's official account. We've also got Jonathan Hitch in there. We've also got, I do believe, Joshua G. Wilson there, saying, did I miss the prototype announcement? Well, it hasn't been announced yet, but stay tuned. There may be something about that a little bit later. No spoilers, wink wink, but it is the case. We also say hello there to my guy Si, referring to Jonathan Hitchin as Johnny Rosberg Hitchin. A little bit of banter there in the chat never goes astray. And we also see El Neil there saying, I love turns 8 and 9 round here, so satisfying when you nail it. We also say hello there to some Skippy, and also to Nath or N8F66, and also UKSR's Chris Edisford there. I think I've covered you all, and if you are tuning in and you haven't said hi in the chat, don't be shy, feel free to say hi. We don't bite here at UK Sim Racing Community, but it is the case if you don't have access to the chat, we do wish you all well and hope you're having a great start to your week, well, it being Monday, and in the UK it is a bank holiday. But looking from our chat back to the circuit, it is the case we do see here Carl McGutt going a bit slowly at the moment. I think he's setting himself up for another lap in short order and trying to give himself a bit of space, although he's coming to a standstill there. Oh no, he's letting somebody go through. He's letting, I believe that's Chris Hitchin go. Indeed, of course, Chris Hitchin switching to the BMW M4 as of a couple of rounds ago, in particular back in the Nürburgring from the Ferrari, and we look forward to seeing how he gets on. And we should also point out that Chris Edisford has a qualifying ban. He's decided to switch to the McLaren MP4 12C, and we look forward to seeing how he gets on from the back of the field, but he will be starting at P19 as Hitchin makes his way through the last couple of corners. And as he does here, I think it's only appropriate we ride on board with Chris Hitchin to give you an idea of what it's like going around in a front-engine rear-wheel drive machine rather than mid-engine rear-wheel drive Lamborghini. So as he takes the M4 up to line, well, he was going to take it up to line, and he's decided he's going to back it off there, so we'll try and find somebody else who's making the way around. And we do see Tyson Valenda here, one of our other silver drivers, coming down in P16 as it currently stands, and as he rolls his way on through, it is the case heading into turn number 13. Now let's ride on board. As he makes his way up towards turn number 1 here, the Mercedes driver heading into long left-hander and bringing the car through. They're using the pit exit curbing to help rotate the car, now making his way all the way up towards turn number 2. Of course, that V8 absolutely roaring, 6.3 litres of V8 here as he heads up into the hairpin. As he rolls his way through here, going nice and tight to that initial apex, letting the car come back to the curbing and then powering down on corner exit. Not as much rotation in the Mercedes compared to what we saw earlier with the Lamborghini, but still it's there. And as he heads up towards turns 4, 5, 6 and 7 through the kink of 3, he charges, and now getting ready for his brake mark on the left hand side. That 100 metre board there, braking about 115 metres, rolling into the apex of 4, and you can see there the direction change. He's decided to keep it nice and tight to the turn 5 apex. That's going to cost him a couple of attempts in overall fashion, and as he makes his way through 6, brings it nicely through the right hander of 6, gets it set up well for 7 as well. Complete commitment here, and now into the drop through 8 and 9, braking into turn 9 to make his way downhill into the valley, and underneath the billboard they're fighting the steering wheel, a little bit of snap oversteer on power as he came over the crest, and now through 10 into left-hander of 11. As he goes through turn 11 in, now got to set up the right-hander of 12, be braking nice and early for this, bring the car round to the apex curb, and now heading on through to turn number 13, going to clatter over the apex curb, which you can do in the Mercedes, unsettles the car a little bit, but by no means as much as other mid-engine rear-wheel drive cars, and a nice lap from Valenda there to improve to a 21.249, still the best part of half a tenth of a Chris Hitchin, the pole time in the silver class in P12, but it's definitely looking very close between them. And now the question will be, can Rob Armstrong respond here? Because our championship leader right now not looking to be up there on the pace by comparison, as we see Jonathan Hitchin retakes pole position on 20.123 and has jumped to the pits. As I try to make the way around here, Armstrong goes provisional pole on the silver class at 21.144. But look at that, our silver drivers are separated by less, well, just over a tenth, by a microcosm of a tenth in the end. And it is the case that Armstrong, Hitchin and Belinda all coming out in full force. Meanwhile, we do look to Austin William Campbell here, the platinum driver, a little bit out of place compared to his peers at the moment in terms of qualifying time in that Ferrari. But we have seen that the Ferrari has been struggling as of recent rounds. The 488 just does not seem to have that one lap pace compared to some of its counterparts. And Austin William Campbell, of course, what he doesn't achieve in qualifying, he does try to extract out the car in the race and gets very feisty indeed in the races, and we love to see it. But as he makes his way on around here, oh, good speed into the wall, and well, that is going to be his qualifying session, I think, brought to an abrupt halt. As meanwhile, we do look here to what is a Martin Tilling, and as he heads up towards turn 2 right now, Tilling just giving way to Alan Level. We've still got 5 minutes on the clock in this qualifying session, still plenty of time to go, and plenty of lap time out as we see off circuit as a driver, and I do believe that may have been what was, I believe, James Acklam, unless I'm very much mistaken, getting it very wrong. No, that wasn't James Acklam. In fact, James Acklam making his way down towards what is turn 3 right now, but as he comes charging on down, we also say hello there in the Twitch chat to what is Bay Queen, and well, as he makes his way around, I'm sorry to hear that the livery has not loaded for you, Bay Queen, or still William Campbell. Does seem to have got a little bit lost in the mail there. We do have some glitches with trading paints every so often, and we also do say hello there to what is, I believe, well, we said hello to Sam Congreve, and we said hello to everyone, in fact, and also Hellcat UK. That's the person who I was thinking of. But as we do see one, what is James Acklam making his way through turn number 9 and down towards 10 at this point. Acklam right now running in P3 on an outlap here, and well, Acklam has fallen a little bit by the wayside compared to the top 3 in the Platinum class, but has still been a very strong performer in the Platinum class throughout the season, and he'll be wanting to end on a high, albeit he's had to really bring the car off of a high point there, going through turn number 12 to let Mark Johnson through, and as he makes his way on around through his turn number 13, Acklam now going on to his final flying lap of this session most likely, and well, we're going to follow him around on the exterior cameras here as he makes his way around the mid-Ohio course, absolutely charging on through. And as he heads up towards what is turn number 2, it is a case, oh, could it be a whack to the wall there? We look away for a brief moment and look back, and well, he shouldn't be a bit of oversteer on the corner exit, and indeed the car's become very unsettled on that grass, just putting the foot down and getting it wrong. But we can see Tyson Lennon meanwhile backing off here. I think he's waiting for that one final lap as he heads on down through turn number 3, and Mark Johnson by comparison here, your current pole sitter in what is the bronze class here in that Porsche 911. Porsche's been a bit of an interesting character over the course of the season. It's been very fast at a lot of circuits in the qualifying trim, but in the race, that's where it seems to have been a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde character. In fact, it starts strong, but it has a tendency to start to lose out as the race wears on, the tyre wear sinks in, and also the fuel comes out the car. Because it is a case, of course, that the Porsches, you can see there, if you look to the bonnet very slightly, you'll notice that there is a fuel intake inlet there, and it is the case that the fuel tank in the Porsche is in the front, compared to the majority of our GT3 class cars having the fuel tanks towards the rear. And that changes the way the aerodynamic and the weight balance of the Porsche works over the course of the race compared to some of the other cars, where normally all the weight is gradually coming off the back as the fuel tank empties. In the Porsche, the weight is coming off the front end, which means the front becomes lighter as you go deeper and deeper into the race. And that's something which can be a challenge for our drivers to master. But of course, this being an open setup series, our drivers are allowed to tweak as much as they can with the aero, with the suspension, you name it, minus, of course, the engine. That's BOP regulated according to the iRacing BOP as it currently stands. But you can imagine there that Mark Johnson, much like his peer Nathan Foster in the Gold class, they will have tried to dial out that difficulty with the Porsche as the racing goes on. But as he makes his way on around here, Mark Johnson definitely looking to be the contender for pole in that bronze class there on that what is a lap 1.2 seconds off the overall pole, a 21.40, and that is 6 tenths faster than James Connolly. And Darren Sharples by comparison right now is a whole almost 9 tenths off of the back of Johnson here. But it is the case that Sharples has one more lap up his sleeve. Can he potentially deliver it when it matters most, which is at the deadlock? We will have to wait and find out as he makes his way down towards turn number 4, and he's getting himself set up for that final lap, and he's just going to squeeze it in. But as he makes his way on around and heading up towards what is turn number 5 here, it's the case we've got somebody going a little bit slow. I believe that was Sam Congreve. In fact, he's gone off circuit there and decided enough's enough. That is his qualifying session over. And Jonathan Hitchin here out on a lap right now. Cy Ansley retakes pole position. When 20.122, can Hitchin respond here, given the fact it's literally 1,000th between the two of them? My goodness me, and that is extremely tight. And Hitchin, well, he's come into the pits. He has yielded, it would seem. So it will be Cy Anthony who takes pole positioning because Acklam's not out on circuit, Congre's not out on circuit, and the only driver who can potentially snatch that pole in the Platinum class would be not Alistair Campbell, my goodness me, Austin William Campbell, I should say. My apologies. And as he makes his way through turn number 13 at this point, it is the case. Well, he's trying to deliver a lap at the moment. What's it going to be for a fast-flying Ferrari driver? Oh, and he puts a wheel to the grass and into the wall there, just using a little bit too much width on the entry into turn number 1, just that rear right entire clip in the grass, and his qualifying session is over. So I think that will mean that it will be Cy Anthony on pole ahead of Jonathan Hitchin. The 15 minutes this qualifying session is up, but we still have drivers out there on fast laps, and well, we've got Darren Sharples making his way back to the pit lane after an off track. We do have here Chris Hitchin coming to the timeline. He was an improvement lap and he jumps up to P8, and that is pole position in the silver class for Hitchin. And well, can Armstrong respond? No, he cannot. So Hitchin at the close takes pole in the silver class and P8 overall. And well, Rob Armstrong in a difficult qualifying session starts P13. It's not a major bruiser to his championship credentials, but it means he's right alongside Tyson Melinda on that grid. P13, P14 for the pair of them. But as we now wait to transition over into the race, ladies and gentlemen, it is the case that you were asking only moments ago. Well, some of you were asking, well, what else is on the news in UK Sim Racing? Well, as I try to get ready to go to the grid, we are pleased to announce it is the case that we have a new format coming to UK Sim Racing known as the Prototype Series, and Season 1 will be kicking off in the near future. And well, what is the Prototype Series all about? It is the case that it's an all-new multi-class prototype series involving LMP2s and the Radical SR10. It will be made up of 6 rounds which run every 2 weeks from Thursday the 29th of September, and this series features a combination of 60 and 90-minute races. There have been both a drivers and teams championship up for grabs within each of the classes. It is the case that this is one you shall definitely not want to miss, and especially more so for an entry fee of only £10. So if you are a massive LMP2 fan, or indeed you are more of a fan of the Radical SR10 which recently arrived in iRacing, then this is the series you want to get involved in. But if that is not your cup of tea, what about this? We have also later on this year got 2 endurance specials lined up which will see multi-class of the MX-5, the touring car racing cars, and also GT4 class machinery. And it is the case there are 2 events. So those of you not ready to commit full-time to a league at this point in the year, but for only £4 you can enter a pair of special 90-minute multi-class endurance events featuring these class cars. And well, because we love multi-class so much, we'll be holding those events on Wednesday the 28th of September and Wednesday the 9th of November. Indeed, instructions on screen once again if you are interested and want to sign up today. And these instructions apply to any league we're advertising today, whether it's the GT3s, the Porsche Cup Season 4, alternatively the upcoming Prototype Series or the Endurance Specials. It is the case existing league drivers can sign up right now using the appropriate sign-up channel on the UK Sim Racing Discord, and if you're not an existing league driver, sign-ups open from 9 o'clock at GMT tomorrow evening, so that is 2100 hours GMT tomorrow evening on Tuesday the 30th of August. Just head to our website at UK Sim Racing, visit the appropriate league page, and then follow the instructions carefully to avoid disappointment. But speaking of avoiding disappointment, let's head back to those live pictures. And well, as we get ready to go racing here, let's take you through the grid. So line up on pole position in the end. Well, in fact, it was for a lap invalidation. We've had it confirmed, I do believe. Jonathan Hitchin did secure pole with 20.129. Cy Anthony lined up alongside him in the end with what was a lap that's only 6 thousandths down. And, well, of course, we can't tell if a lap has been invalidated by track limits in an iRacing replay file. That's a bit of a misfortune there, but Hitchin is on pole in the end. Behind them, James Acklam and Sam Congreve line up P3, P4, with then our pole sitter in the gold class of what is there, Nathan Foster, line up P5. Congratulations to him, just ahead of his major championship rival, Carl McGurk, who starts P6. Austin William Campbell starts P7, joined on the 4th row by Chris Hitchin, what is your silver pole sitter. And then on the 5th row we have Stephen Masters and Stuart Brown. They line up P9, P10. Martin Tillin and Peter Cox, the 2 gold drivers, make up row number 6. And then we do have behind them on row number 7, the silver drivers of Rob Armstrong and Tyson Belinda, separated in the end by only a 10th of a second. The 2 major rivals there, in the absence, of course, of David Larson. And then we do have Alan Lever and Mark Johnson line up on row number 8. Mark Johnson, your pole sitter in the bronze class. His rivals are James Connolly and Darren Sharples in row number 9. And in starting from the back, on his lonesome in P19, but not to be forgotten about, I can imagine he'll be charging through the field in that McLaren, is Chris Eddersford, P19 for UK Sim Racing. But it is the case now, ladies and gentlemen. We are waiting to go racing here. Not long to go as we do look to the blimp camera. And as we do, it makes its way over the pack of cars here. And we're absolutely splendid to see all our drivers coming up in full vigour and fortune. But the gridding process is complete. And it is the case. We now await for what is the safety car to start pulling away. And it will be to Jonathan Hitchin to take us to the green for what is 40 minutes of racing action here at Mid-Ohio. As they gradually make their way around, of course, it's a short run, and Jonathan Hitchin can choose to go out of turn number 12 if he so desires. We'll wait and see. And he's gone already before the apex of turn 13. Hitchin's not waited to go. Oh, goodness me, Carl McGuirt with an early spin there. And well, he's out the way of everybody. He pulls it to the wall. But Carl McGuirt in drama already. As meanwhile, we look up to the front of the field. And well, Sam Congreve already on the offensive versus James Acklam in the run up towards turn number 2. And as they make their way up towards the hairpin, it's the case that Congreve on the inside. Further back, that is Martin Tilling trying to make the move here. With that, that's Peter Cox up the inside of Tilling into turn number 2. And well, Peter Cox is not holding back any punches right now. He's not flinching. He's on the full offensive as they make their way out of 2 and down towards 3 and 4 they charge. But as they head down through the kink of 3, it is the case you can see here how we do have Martin Tilling trying to come back in the charge in that BMW. And meanwhile, Stuart Brown here, well, it is the case. He's watching on as meanwhile Nathan Foster up the inside there of Chris Hitchin. And well, Chris Hitchin loses the place to Nathan Foster. And looking good. Oh, goodness me, there's a turn there for Chris Hitchin on the apex. And that's a couple of cars taken to the wall almost, including Stuart Brown and also Peter Cox. But this opens up things massively here as we see them make the way through turn number 6 and into 7 they charge. But as they head on through there, that was very unfortunate for all drivers involved, but you can see here's the case, Chris Hitchin off circuit there and towards the wall he goes. I think something goes broken on the car, and well, Hitchin is not having a happy day at the office here in Ohio. But meanwhile, we look from them to the front of the field, and after one lap of racing, it is Jonathan Hitchin who leads by only 4 tenths ahead of Cy Anstey, followed by Sam Congreve in P3, then James Ackland P4, Austin William Campbell P5. That's all your platinum drivers running P1 to P5. Then we have Nathan Foster P6, your gold leader, charging through in the 52 car, followed by Stephen Masters P7, then Peter Cox P8, then it is Stuart Brown P9, followed by Mark Johnson. Mark Johnson making an absolutely stellar start, gaining 6 places at the start. The bronze leader is on a charge here as he makes his way out towards turn number 2. Meanwhile, Martin Tilling behind, Tyson Melenda P12, and Lever P13, Rob Armstrong P14. Difficult start for Rob Armstrong as he chases down Lever. James Connolly P15, Chris Edderson P16, and then we do have Carl McGurk here who's just made the move, and Darren Sharp was slightly off camera there for P17. Carl McGurk's got it all to do, as meanwhile we see here James Connolly making his way past Rob Armstrong, and Armstrong going quite slowly here in the charge down towards turn number 4, and Edison's up his inside here, and Edison of course starting from the back of the field, gaining some places here, but Armstrong's going to go outside to inside through the right into left, and as they make the way through the corner, well, Armstrong's not going to make this easy, and Edison gets the switch back here into turn number 6. They show great racing respect between the two of them, and it is the case in the end. Edison has to back out there through 7, but it did look as though the move was potentially on, but Armstrong fights back as they make the way into turns 8 and 9, and now down into the valley to 10. But as they roll the way down the hill here, we ride on board with Carl McGurk, who right now is looking to go on the offensive here, of course, with that dismal start to his race, that spin before we even started the first lap of race in action. But it does happen, of course, and in front, almost losing it there, was Rob Armstrong, and that Mercedes, and indeed the Mercedes around here do not look to be that hooked up compared to what we've typically seen from them, where they've been absolute beasts on the straights, and indeed actually clambering over the corners. And as we're trying to look around the outside here of Armstrong, well, Carl McGurk's got to think about this and see where he can seize the opportunity as they make the way in the charge up towards turn number 2. It's Edison on his right, Armstrong in front, and as they make the way up towards the corner, no change right now, although Edison's going to go up the inside here, and as they make their way on through, it's the case I think Chris Edison may have this done, and in the process Armstrong may be vulnerable to losing it as a 2-for-1 special here, but no, it is the case that McGurk cannot come on through. Meanwhile, a bit further up the road, I can tell you that Martin Tilling by comparison has gained a place on Mark Johnson here for P10 as they roll the way through turn number 4 for the second time of asking. Also, third time of asking, I should really say, get my maths right, but as they make the way through, it is the case you can see in this long snaking sequence of corners here known as the S's, just how the drivers have to flow in single file formation formation, or if they battle side by side, it can be major places lost or gained. And speaking of lost or gained here, we see Rob Armstrong only 1 moment ago battling with Chris Eddersford through here, and now he's battling with another Mercedes driver. They almost come together there, but to be fair, great awareness of both Armstrong and McGurk. But in the process, Darren Sharples here is thinking, can I play two in the Ferrari? He's trying to get close, but no such way getting through as they make the way towards the end of this lap. But as they come charging on through, we look from the back of the field towards the front once again, and you can see here, well, is this a familiar picture? I think it is. We have Jonathan Hitchin who leads, but Cy Anthony behind, and normally it's the case that Cy Anthony tries to get through as quickly as possible, and then Hitchin switches to staying behind and fuel saving and playing the long strategy game. It didn't work out the Nürburgring by comparison, where it was the case, and then Cy Anthony just ran off into the distance after the pit stops. But today, well, Hitchin's going to see if he can turn that around as they make the way up towards turn number 4. But as they make the way on down towards turn number 4 right now, it is the case that they look all in line of stern formation here. Sam Congreve at the back of this group as well. And keep your eyes on the number 9 driver here. Of course, he will be trying to pick up a major result, potentially a win. He's got to get ahead of his rival Cy Anthony for that P2 in the championship, and his last win dating back to Suzuka, of course, in that absolutely brilliant double overtake for the lead early on in the race. But as they make the way through, also James Acklam here staying in the fight, and as they roll the way on down, well, we have got here Tyson Valenda doing a little bit of a disappearing act. That's a bit of a latency issue, and Alan Lever now tucked in behind Mark Johnson as they make the way down into turns 8 and 9. And Mark Johnson here, I think he knows he doesn't need to fight for position here, and I think in his mind the overall championship is not something he's interested in. I think it's the case if he gets some points in the overall championship, he'll take them gladly, but it's not his priority. His priority here is just simply making sure he's the lead bronze driver, because as you look at him making his way through turn number 12, what's very interesting here is the way that Johnson isn't really putting up a defense as such. I think he's going to make it a little bit difficult for Alan Lever, but I think if Lever gets close to going alongside, I think he'll simply say, much like we saw at the Nürburgring, you know, I'm going to let this go because you are not my rival. But speaking of rivals here, we've got 2 Mercedes that are rivals, and Rob Armstrong yields there to Carl McGurk down the start-finish straight. I think this may be a little bit tactical here, but both drivers really not happy with that, with that rear end on the Mercedes AMG 2020 today. It is the case that Mercedes just does not look like it wants to settle down, and as they roll the way through turn number 2 right now, we're not even 10 minutes in, but you can already start to see how the top 4 are breaking away on the timing tower compared to the rest of the field. And indeed, as the gaps continue to open up here, so will the little battles start to space out from one another. And here's a little battle of interest. Stuart Brown in what is the Symphonite Ferrari, running P4 in the Gold Class, P9 overall, trying to keep at bay UK Sim Racing's Martin Tilling as they make the way through turns 5 and 6 and head through 7 very quickly and down into 8 and 9. But the difference here, of course, is the Ferrari has the rotation, but the BMW has the audacity in terms of the straight line speed acceleration as they make the way out to 9 and drop down into turns 10 and 11 in rapid succession. As they roll the way on through here, it looks like Tilling just falling back a little bit at the moment, not close enough to really adventure a move or start to think about making a move, instead waiting, biding his turn, trying to put that pressure on Brown as they make the way towards the end of the current lap. But as they come out of the final corner here and across that timeline, they charge past the camera stand here and heading into 1. Brilliant sense of speed as they charge into the opening corner, and as they head on through, no change right now. But speaking of change, here is Chris Edison, who having started at the back, has moved up to P15. He's found his way past Carl McGurk, and now he's making his way after Connolly, his next target up the road. And as they make the way up towards turn number 2 once again, it is the case Edison already started to show signs of that potential peak to the inside into 2, but Connolly nowhere near close enough. I think it's more of the case of just looking at what grip's available under braking to try and go to the inside there, try and go for the dive, because of course these mid-engine rear-wheel drive cars have a lot more rotation by default, which means you can try and point the car towards the corner apex a little bit more compared to the front-engine rear-wheel drive cars such as our Mercedes and also our BMWs. But of course it's up to the driver's style as well. And as they make the way out of turn 4 and up into 5, rolling on through, you can definitely see Connolly struggling in the initial section of the S's here, and this is causing everyone to bunch up on Carl McGurk. They're taking a very cheeky peek to the inside, thinking that he might be able to get his nose in there in the run through turns 5 and 6, but not to be as they come down through 7 and 8 and up into 9. But Carl McGurk definitely here thinking, well, there's going to be a door open. He's not going to shy away from trying to put his foot in that door. And I think Edison at this point has got to be very careful what's coming. Meanwhile, Alan Lever makes his way past Mark Johnson. They just caught it slightly off camera, but it is the case they swap places, and now Mark Johnson drops to P13, but behind him is James Connolly. But I think Johnson will be thinking at this point he doesn't have to worry unless Connolly gets extremely close, because Connolly right now has got bigger fish to fry in the 46 Ferrari, and that is, it's Chris Edison and also Carl McGurk who are all salivating here at trying to get that P14 off of him. And I think Connolly's got to make a decision here. Does he let let it go and let them bring him up towards Mark Johnson in front, or does he try and hold track position here? Well, I think we're going to see the first sign of what's going to be happening now as we see Edison up the inside, and Comga also comes on through here. I think Conley at this point saying, okay lads, you can all come through. It's the case I'm not racing you, and I think that's the smart decision from Conley there, as meanwhile Rob Armstrong's probably thinking, where's my ticket to come on through as well, as he's a little bit further back. But I think if Rob Armstrong can get close enough, Conley may oblige, depending on how much pressure is exerted. But speaking of exerting pressure here, Comga continues to hound the back of Edison here in this hunt for what is P14, but right now Edison not showing any signs of succumbing to the pressure. As we look from them to our leader right now, Hitchin continues to lead here as we make our way towards the end of the first 10 minutes of racing, and as he makes his way down through turn number 12 and up towards 13 at this point, Cy Anthony stays with him, but Sam Congreve and James Acklam, and as we ride on board here with James Acklam, staying with the top three here, I think Acklam could be a bit of a third-party player to this battle for the win, in the fact that right now he's staying right there with them and running comfortable pace, as we're hearing that Peter Cox is into the pit lane. That's a very early pit stop for Peter Cox if he's decided to come in and take that stop early, but could that be a bit of strategic masterclass? Has he decided to run in clear air and pit early? Rob Armstrong's also into the pits as well. There's no signs of a drive or any damage on both drives. I look out my commentary box window and Peter Cox is immediately on out here. If it's the case they're taking that scheduled stop, we may be seeing a massive undercut from Cox and Armstrong. Now you may be wondering at this point, is it possible to do such an undercut? We can confirm, yes it is, given the fact we have seen in these sprint races some drives, particularly our leaders in the Platinum class, sometimes pit around the 33 to 34 minute mark, and well, it is the case as they can pit that late into the race, then they can pit very early as well. But as they roll the way on through, it is the case that Hitchin right now will be thinking about what strategy can he carry out in order to upset what is Cy Anstey. But I think we are finding out there from Hellcat_UK in the Twitch chat with regards to, I believe that is Rob Armstrong, correct me if I'm wrong, good sir, but it is the case coming in due to some damage on the car, which is unfortunate for Armstrong, and of course they would be a major result if he could get it in order to cement his championship crown, or potential championship crown next time out. But meanwhile, Carl McGurk here chasing after Edisford still, and this battle getting very close here. And well, Carl McGurk at this one, I think he started to settle down the troubles he was having with the Mercedes. I think the car's now got itself into a bit of a rhythm under his control, and he's taking a look to the inside, but you can't really go for it there. Now that was a little bit of a look, but at the end of the day, I think he knew what he was going to try and do. Is Chris Edisford into the pit lane. Well, Edisford, I think at this point, if he's going for the strategy, then it is going to be the undercut here, and I think he wants clear air and no pressure behind him. But meanwhile, we look from Edisford to up front, and well, moments ago, Hitchin was being hotly pursued by Cy Anthony, but Cy Anthony has dropped a couple attempts on the last lap. And I think it is the case that Hitchin right now finding that river, and also Cy Anthony, to be fair, could be just doing a little bit of lift and coast into the corners, and therefore just trying to help himself out with that fuel. But of course, if he does too much lift and coasting, then we could see the number 9 car, Sam Congreve, start to look at potentially taking that P2. And that's the thing, of course, the gloves will now be off between these two, given the fact they know they're battling for second place in the Platinum Class Championship. That's what they've got to fight for the rest of the season. Although then again, the idea being between these two, you want to beat the other person, but if you can get the win and also beat Jonathan Hitchin in the process to get maximum possible points, then that is the big Brucey bonus, as they used to say of Bruce Forsyth on TV, and that is what both Congreve and Anstey will both be thinking about at this point. It will be the case that they'll be thinking about how can they get that win, but also get the upper hand on their rival. Meanwhile, James Acklam staying with them. He's fallen back to about 9 tenths, and as he makes his way through the left-hander, it is the case. I think Acklam here just watching and waiting, but meanwhile, speaking of a battle that is building, here's Austin William Campbell in P5, and your eyes do not deceive you, ladies and gentlemen. That's your gold leader, Nathan Foster, in the 52 Porsche, right behind right now. Well, it is the case. We have seen earlier on in the season, you have to go all the way back to Circuit Charles Villeneuve with Nathan Foster put in that incredible display of pace and strategy to take the overall win. And Nathan Foster is not shy of fighting with the Platinum guys. He wants those overall points just as much as the gold class points, and he is going for it here. But can he get close enough to look at that move? And meanwhile, we see there Mark Johnson being passed by Carl McGurk on the exit of turn 2. Mark Johnson once again, I think, playing the smart game here, which is he doesn't need to fight with the other classes. His only concern is this man, James Conley, behind, and then a little bit further back, Darren Sharples, the bigger rival in the championship, as they all pursue after Oscar Rocha in the final standings. as they make their way on around at this point. It is the case we can see Darren Sharples there looking very compact, and to be fair, this is what we have been really seeing from Darren Sharples in the last, well, particularly in the second half of the season, but even the first half of the season, a very compact car, but also a very consistent driving style from him. He's had a lot of bad luck, to be fair. The open half of the season was absolutely terrible for bad luck when Sharples was on course for some major results, but it's really turned around in the second half of the season, and well, it is the case. I think the 777 driver here, we're thinking that 777 is finally lucky, or lucky for some, and well, it is the number 7, his lucky number. We'll have to wait and see. But meanwhile, what we'll also have to wait and see, but it's coming very quickly here, is whether Stuart Brown is going to be able to hold off Tilling behind, as Martin Tilling looks to move on the inside there into turn number 1. I thought there was going to be contact between the two of them, but to be fair, that shows you how confident Martin Tilling was, both in Brown's awareness and his ability to lift out at the last possible moment. But the 91 driver here, as they roll the way down through turn number 2, definitely looking ferocious as they head on through and up towards turns 3 and 4, as they charge it down, was effectively the back straight here. It is the case that Tilling, I think, has to play the smart game, because just in front of him, that is Stephen Masters here, and well, the Ferrari driver of Masters not pulling away, and in fact, on that last lap, Stephen Masters lost a couple of attempts to both Brown and Tilling, so it is the case that right now, if Tilling plays his cards right, he may just be able to get close enough to Stephen Masters to be able to make it a 2-for-1 pass later in the race, or pick up the 2 places in quick succession. And of course, these guys battling for the midfield places in the Gold Class Championship, they'll all want the big points on the board, but meanwhile, Stuart Brown here, we went a little bit wide, understeered a little bit through turn number 7 there, which we caught briefly on camera, and he's definitely right now, I think, feeding the pressure in that Ferrari, and well, he's keeping it together, to be fair, but the Symphonette driver thinking about Martin Tilling behind and just how much pressure is going to be placed on him lap after lap from this point onwards. But as they roll the way down through 12 and into 13 once again, it is the case that these drivers are all moving on through. It is like poetry in motion when they're flying through these corners. But of course, that's the change from Vido High. The corners come thick, they come fast, and you need to be smooth. You need to keep your cool, be smooth, be fast, be agile, and that's what Carl McGurk's trying to do right now as he looks to take a place off of Alan Lever. But of course, we have seen an absolutely revived running form of Alan Lever over the last couple of rounds, and will he just let this go? Well, I think he might give Carl McGurk the inside there, respect to the fact McGurk is in a different race in terms of the overall pace this season. But then again, Alan Lever on that outside line, he didn't back out off the throttle on corner exit. I think he's going to try and make it a drag race here between the Mercedes and the Lamborghini, and as they make the way through turn number 3 and up towards 4, well, this is going to be brave from Alan Lever. He's going to try and commit to an outside to inside defense into turn number 4. He'll have the rotation in the Lamborghini, but he doesn't have the positioning into turn number 5, and you can see immediately then McGurk letting the car roll to the inside into 5 to cover off Alan Lever. But as they come through 6 into 7 now, will we continue to see Lever trying to come back? He looks the inside into 7, but he hasn't got the distance to be able to force the door back open, and in the end, Carl McGurk getting the move done. But I think Lever there going for the defense to an extent, but also respecting the fact that he can use McGurk to pull him up to the likes of Tilling and Brown further up the road. Of course, his rivals who he's been battling with over the course of the season, Stephen Masters none more so. But as they make the way through turn number 12 at this point, both drivers now settle their differences and charge on. But speaking into the pits, here's Martin Tilling. He comes in from what was P9, and well, where's this going to place him back out? That will be the big question as he rolls his way to his pit box. And meanwhile, as he comes in towards his pit box here, more drivers coming on through. And we ride on board here with Darren Sharples, who is gradually closing up to the back of Connolly as they make their way into turn number 1 with 17 minutes complete, and there's another 23 to go. As they roll the way through the long left hand here, Connolly really struggling out of corner exit, and I think this is going to be as straightforward as it needs to be. Or is Connolly going to put it back on the inside and deep on the brakes? Connolly on the left, it's Sharples on the right, and Sharples tries to go all the way around the outside. He gives his rival enough room to the apex, but as they roll the way on through, it is the case that Sharples gains the position, and as they make the way down towards what is turn number 3, well, we're hearing that James Acklam's been involved in a major incident. He's dropped down to P6, still fighting with Nathan Foster, but we have to look back to Connolly versus Sharples here as Connolly tries to go around the outside of Sharples into 4, but Sharples covers him off there, and Connolly right behind him as they make their way through turns 5 and up into 6 and 7 in quick order. And behind you can see there's Peter Cox, and this is important for Peter Cox and Betty Swallock's Racing because he was the first major driver to appear in terms of trying to get the undercut. And when I say major, in terms of drives in the top 10, and as he makes his way through turns 8 and 9 right now, the number 68 driver at this point will be thinking, this is not what I asked for when I went for an undercut pit stop, because right now he's got two bronze drivers who, for better or worse, are going to be battling for what is P2 in class here, and they are more interested in that than letting Peter Cox on by. Now, it is the case, do they simply think about letting him through and carrying on their battle, or are they more invested in the battle here? And Cox will be hoping it's the former, but I reckon it may just as much be the latter as they make the way onto what for them is lap number 14, and as they roll the way for a left-hander, Peter Cox has got to pick them off quick whilst they're not battling, and his first target is James Conley as they make the way out towards turn number 2. But as they head up towards the hairpin, it is a case of rolling into left-hander. No change at the moment. Peter Cox is definitely in a bit of a difficult moment, but as they roll the way through that right-hander, well, it is the case Peter Cox has got to get a move on here because he is losing time and he is losing it fast. But meanwhile, we look to Stephen Masters here running P2 in the gold class, and as he heads on through what is turns 4, 5 and into 6 and 7 over the crest and down into 8, it is the case that Masters right now under pressure from Stuart Brown. The two Ferrari rivals here in the gold class both going toe to toe as they make the way out of the right-hander of turn number 9 and down into the valley. And as they come on down here, for the uninitiated, of course, how do we know who's platinum, gold, bronze or silver? In the case, of course, you can see on the time down the left-hand side of the screen, if a driver does have a blue sash next to their name, that means they're platinum. A gold or a yellow one means they're gold. One that's silvery grey means they're silver. And then a browny bronze means they're bronze. But as our drivers make their way on around here, it is the case that these two, no strangers to battling for position. And we've seen some great battles between them over the course of the season so far. Battling for P2 here and some major points in that gold class. And what is effectively P7 out on circuit as it currently stands. But as they head up towards turn number 2, we look a little bit further back then. That's Tyson Belenda, who right now leading in the silver class here, with Rob Armstrong having that early pit stop with that damage on the car, and Chris Hitchin having that disastrous moment on the opening lap which saw him head into the pits with major damage. Belenda at this point, if he pulls off this win today, that will close him up massively in the championship standings. And what you can see there, letting Carl McGurk go around the outside through the kink of 3 and up towards 4, Tyson Belenda has definitely set his mindset on, I need the points of the silver championship. He doesn't want to be in a fight for any overall position unless it's for a silver driver, and that's what the 414 driver here is doing in the Mercedes, just playing it smart, keeping it cool. And as we make our way into the second half of this race, well, heading on around, but as it is the case right now, focusing on just delivering it to the end. Behind him, Alan Lever here, who's yet to pit, will be chasing after Carl McGurk and trying to get a little bit closer to the remainder of the top 5 in the gold class here, running P11, P5 in the gold class it currently stands. As they make the way on around, it is the case that we do look from Alan Lever up towards what is Stephen Masters once again here, and well, Masters and also Brown both staying out another lap here, not showing signs of coming into the pits, and it is very interesting to see how we've had this major split in the strategies here. We've seen some drivers go for a huge undercut, and then we've seen some drivers, well, in previous rounds we would assume just decide they're going to go for the major overcut, but nobody coming in at the midpoint of the race here, and I think perhaps that's the treacherous ground for a lot of drivers. They don't want to get caught in those battles. And speaking of being caught in those battles, here's Peter Cox. He did clear James Conley a lap ago. He managed to clear Conley quite safely in the end in terms of safely on that lap time, but right now he's got to try and make his way past Darren Sharples. He's going to look to the inside here into turn number 2, and as they make the way up into the right-hander, no such luck this time. That Ferrari's got enough legs down the run to turn 2 to stay ahead, but as they roll the way through the right-hander, Peter Cox definitely setting up a move here, and he's going to have a major amount of draft as they head down towards turn number 4, and as they roll the way through the right-hander, continue to build up speed little by little as they head in towards 4. Will he look for the move here? Well, we do have to cut away briefly, ladies and gents, because that's Nathan Foster we're hearing, and we looked him on camera, and that is Nathan Foster at turn number, I believe, that is turn number 9. He's off. Now, what on earth has happened to Nathan Foster? We can't get you a replay of it, unfortunately, but our driver who was leading in the gold class by a major margin and looking to go after P5, it's all gone horribly wrong at Mid-Ohio, and well, right now, that could really turn the tables, because ahead of him, and yet to make a pit stop much like Nathan Foster, but now up into P3 in the gold class, is Carl McGurk here, and McGurk at this point must be thinking that Lady Luck is on his side, because he was looking to be struggling earlier, but now his major rival is looking very strong, as meanwhile it's all coming together and it's all falling apart for everybody else. Stuart Brown's had a spin at turn number 1, and he's rejoined, but he's dropped back to P10 behind Alan Lever. My goodness, well, how the fortunes can turn in the space of only 3 minutes. And right now, well, I think it's the case that Carl McGurk will be absolutely absolutely buoyant by this, and he'll be hunting down Stephen Masters. Carl McGurk at this rate could be on for the win in the gold class, and that's not the way you want it to go. But as they make the way on around right now, we hear that Nathan Foster's into the pits. I think he's decided that he's got to come on in, settle his nerves down a little bit and go back out there, so he's called his strategy. But meanwhile, Stuart Brown at this point chasing after Alan Lever there. A little bit of flash of lights off of Stuart Brown there. I think it might be the case, saying hello to Alan Lever, saying I'm coming for you if you don't mind. And as they make the way through turns 5 and 6 very quickly now, in this case the 77 driver here's got it all to do once again, and Alan Lever once more finds himself battling for the final step on the podium here. Today it's at Mid-Ohio. Last time it was the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit, and the 657 driver in the Lamborghini Huracan Evo just thinking about one thing: keep it consistent, keep it safe, and battle for position, because right now that's exactly what he needs to do to pick up another major result as he follows Tyson Melinda into turn number 12. But as they make the way on around here through turn 12 and into 13, it is the case. Well, we can see that Alan Lever looking strong at the moment. As we got into the pits comes to Tyson Melinda, coming in from what was at the time P7 out, sorry, P8 I should say, out there, and making his one and only pit stop. And well, where is Rob Armstrong? He's down by turn number 10 right now, not close enough, as Melinda's already leaving the pit lane, so it's the case. It's a very quick splash and dash. And where is Chris Hitchin by comparison? Hitchin ran last star runners here after that awful moment early on in the race on the opening lap, but still staying in it to win it, and he's going to pick up a P3 if he gets to the finish, or within the 75% of the laps completed here to be classified as a finisher. So some good points on the board if he gets to the end. Of course, that's what happens when you've got a low number of attendees. Some major points up for grabs. But speaking for points up for grabs here, Chris Edison right now trying to put a bronze driver between himself and Martin Tilling behind. Now it's Darren Sharples who finds himself in the gold sandwich with the bronze filling, and right now, well, the Briton at this point I think will be thinking to himself, I do not want to be here. I want this man in front of me, and that is James Conley, the 46 driver here, as they make the way up towards turn number 4 once again. And right now I think Sharples will be hoping that he can have Chris Edison essentially act as the catalyst in order to spark off what is a potential move for that P2 in the bronze class here, because right now if things finish as they are, Mark Johnson will close up to Darren Sharples in the bronze championship, and it will make it a major three-way fight for the bronze champion title in the season finale at Road Atlanta next week. As they make the way around at this point, Sharples needs to try and find a way to get close enough to make the move on Conley. It's not coming right now, but I can see what is coming right now is a fast charging Carl McGurk up the inside into turn 2 on Stephen Masters. Up the inside he goes in the Mercedes, and Masters in the end I think was caught a little bit by surprise there, or is it the case he's going for the comeback? I think he's going for the charge up towards turn number 4, and McGurk is not going to not defend this. He will stay on the inside. He will not be letting this go as they make the way up into the right-hander here. Masters is going to have to outbrake the Mercedes driver to get the inside into 5. Goes a little bit deep under brake, and there's no grip on that outside line into 4, and Masters loses the position, and Carl McGurk, who looked to be struggling so early on in the race, the Triple 8 driver now finds himself at the head of the gold class, and what a reversal of the fortunes indeed. And well, he won't be guaranteed the gold championship title if he takes this win, and Foster finishes down in P17 right now, essentially P8 in the gold class, but it will put that championship title so firmly over towards his grasp. But we would need essentially what Nathan Foster would refer to as a miracle in the season finale for things to go the other way. It would need Carl McGurk to finish well outside of the standard finishing positions and Nathan Foster to win. This is going the way of Carl McGurk right now with only 14 minutes to go. But as they make the way on around at this point, it is the case of Chris Edisford here still chasing after Conley, and to be fair to Conley, he is not flinching whatsoever here, James Conley, and this is a sign of how far he has come over the course of this season, and the fact really just digging in right now for that P13, for that P2 in the bronze class, and making sure that Sharples stays behind. And Sharples has been passed by Martin Tilling off camera, we should point out, and in fact he's decided enough's enough. He's got to come in here, as also Stuart Brown comes in now. I think Sharples is going to go for the undercut, and well, Conley has a major opportunity just to respond to that on the next lap and next time he comes around, because Darren Sharples comes on in. But meanwhile, James Conley at this point, well, we can see that Edison here looks the outside. Conley's going for this. He is really feeling racy today, but I think he's got to think about the fact if he goes racy like this for too long, then it will be the case he's going to lose time to the driver that matters in this battle for P2 in the bronze class. But we'd love to see it when they're battling, and right now it's the charge out 2 out towards 4, and I think Edison at this point's got the run, and he covers off the inside here, and Edison's not thinking about Conley, he's thinking about Tilling as they make the way out towards 4, and you can see Tilling trying to go around the outside as Conley as they make the way into turn 4, and he does so there. That was very close for Tilling as they make the way through the left into right sequence of 5 into 6. There's also Nathan Foster here and cleared his pit stop, who right now is trying to make a recovery drive out of all of this. And we're hearing that James Acklam is into the pits after a moment out on circuit. But you can see here how it's the case that Nathan Foster trying to get him through as soon as possible here. Of course, Nathan Foster, this is now recovery mode. He has to gain as many places as possible in the time that's remaining to give himself the best possible chance of taking that Gold Championship crown next time out at Road Atlanta. But right now, where he's based, as we said previously, it is not looking favourable. He has, of course, gained the place from Stuart Brown, who had to come into the pits. So that's one place he will take back, but he's still got more to go. And Tillin and Edisford are only metres away right now, but he's got to clear Connolly first. And as we ride on board here with what is the Porsche 911 driver rolling his way into turn number 1 here, you can see it's got the rotation, and Will Connolly there just backs out of it completely. He's decided enough's enough there, and I think it's the case that Connolly suddenly realised, actually, you know what, all this battling and staying in it is the case that I'm only costing myself time to Sharples as they make the way through turn number 2 here. And well, Nathan Foster, I think now has been given an opportunity. He's got a 1.4 second gap to close down on Martin Tilling, but to be fair, in the time he's got left and the lap times he's been putting in, Foster right now is on fire, and he's got to be, because he's not got long left to get back onto what is at least the top 5 in the gold class by the finish. But as they make the way on the round, we do seem to have forgotten a little bit about the fact we have platinum drivers out there, but let's not forget about them any longer. And here is your race leader, Jonathan Hitchin, 2.5 seconds clear of Cy Anthony, bit further back. And then we do have Sam Congreve, who is a further what is almost 3.5 seconds off of him. And it does seem as though the trio here have started to split out, and Hitchin in particular is absolutely flying right now. As he said, that last lap from Jonathan Hitchin was a 21.4. The only other driver setting a 21 was Carl McGurk in P5, the gold leader. But meanwhile, into the pits is not Carl McGurk, it's James Acklam, as he's parked up there. And Acklam having a bit of a slow pit stop. I think they may have been doing some repair work to that car. As it is the case, it has been in the wars. But is he going to come out into a war of his own here as they make the way through turn number 1? This is Chris Edisford. Acklam's just a little bit further up the road. I think Acklam will have enough breathing room here, and I think he'll be breathing a massive sigh of relief in the fact he has not come out into this gold battle, because right now, this gold battle, I think the boxing gloves are going to be on. They won't be looking to make contact, as we see Nathan Foster goes deep into turn number 2. He brings the car back together and gets the momentum out the corner, but this shows you how much Nathan Foster is pushing as they charge down towards turn number 4. But things are calming down a little bit for the time being with 10 minutes to go. We still do have our top 8 who've yet to take their pit stops. We also do have James Connolly down in P15 who's yet to take his pit stop, and we are waiting to see how that battle for P2 in the bronze class unfolds. What we believe would effectively be the battle for P18 out on circuit overall. But indeed, whether it's for P18 or for P1, it matters to each and every driver. And as they make the way on around here at Mid-Ohio, all the points are critical within the respective classes as we continue to see Nathan Foster here head through turn number 9. And or is he closing up to Tilling and Edisford? Not too rapidly, but Tilling is definitely closing up to the back of Edison here, who's our cameraman's centre of attention right now as they make the way up towards turn number 12 once again. And as they roll the way on through, we ride on board what is the gearbox here of Chris Edisford. And as he makes his way up through turn number 13 here, the McLaren MP4 12C driver under that pressure as we hit James Conley's into the pit lane. And as the flames spit out the rear of that McLaren, you can see there Tilling taking a lot of apex curve at turn number 1, a bit too much, in fact getting greedy with that apex curve, and it almost unsettled the car. Then he had to back up the throttle, but he gets the run in the slipstream here up towards turn number 2, which gives him the recovery speed. And as they make the way through 2 right now, it is the case you can see how Foster getting close as well. They're all right now really nipping and tucking, but meanwhile we see Conley up on the jacks here. That's a tyre change for James Conley, I think, and that is going to release Darren Sharples up into P2 in the bronze class. Well, I think Conley there, unless it's been a miscommunication in the pit strategy, that strategy is not going to help him in the long run. Conley is going to lose out and fall a long way back here as Sharples moves up to P17 ahead of Brown and Connolly. But as we look from there, I think that settles the battle for P2 in the bronze class and battle for P17 overall. We look back here to the battle for what is P5, and it is the case we can see that Chris Edison in P12 right now trying to hold on versus Tilling and Foster as they make their way through turns 10 and 11 and in towards 12. They charge very shortly and levers into the pit lane. Mark Johnson is into the pit lane as well. We've got our leaders now deciding to make their final pit stops, but Edison has made his pit stop, so has Martin Tilling, so has Nathan Foster. And as they make the way through 13, 8 minutes plus the final lap to go, and this is all important for Nathan Foster. Every place from this point onwards will make the hardship easier going into the season finale. But as they make the way through the left-hander, you can see they've got Alan Lever just in front of them. This is important for Alan Lever as well, in the fact he needs to hold this position if he can. But Edison's going to go all in here in the battle for P4 in the gold class. They roll their way 2 by 2 through turn number 2, and as they head up towards turn number 4 now, it's Lever who's going to be on the outside, the Lambo on the right, the McLaren on the left. We switch round, the perspective changes the other way, and as they head down towards turn number 4, Lever's going to try and commit to the outside here. Edison's going to have to go all in on the brakes, and I think it's the case that in the end Edison's going to get it done. But look at this, Tilling's also trying to get into the mix on the inside. Lever goes a little bit deep, but he covers off the inside line into turn number 5, and as they make the way through the left into right into 6, Tilling's trying to just get a little bit closer, but he can't quite find it. Nathan Foster meanwhile just has to watch in the snake train here. We've got P4 through to P6, and that's Campbell, McGurk and Masters in as well. Still pit stops on the cards, and as they make the way on around, it is the case. Well, I think Campbell and McGurk will be safe from this. I think Masters will be safe from this as well, unless I'm very much mistaken, but we'll have to wait and see it, of course. Here is Peter Cox, and remember, Peter Cox took his pit stop 7 minutes into the race. He's now leading in the gold class here with a huge undercut. Where's Carl McGurk? There he is. He's going hunting after the race win now. Peter Cox using a masterpiece of strategy here. Can he pull it off to the end? But as they make the way on through here, there's Stephen Masters, and oh goodness me, James Acklam there almost losing it through turn number 1. But then there's the long gold train battling for P4 in the gold class, preceded by Tyson Valenda. But as they make the way down towards turn number 2, it is the case that you can see Chris Edison holding of Alan Lever for the time being. They all take a breather at this point, but I think it's only going to be a short breather, a short reprisal before they all go side by side once again, because they make the way down towards turn 4 this time round. Well, Edison I think is safe. He's also got the draft of Valenda to keep him safe, but meanwhile Alan Lever here is looking vulnerable as they head up towards 4. As they head into the braking zone this time, Alan Lever is safe for now, but one minor mistake here could cost him all the momentum he needs and put him right on the back foot for the remainder of the race, if not just for one lap as they head on through. But you can see Nathan Foster here very close, but the thing for this Porsche is the fact it is very fast through the corners when it's on form, and Nathan Foster definitely showing that form, but it just does not have the run on the straight, and therefore he's got to do it all through the technical sections here, and that's what he's done out of 9. As he looks here to the outside inside, run through 10 and 11, he's not close enough to go for it, and you don't really go too wide through 10 and 11. It is the case he's got to wait for the exit out of 12 to try and get the run up towards 1 and 2 here. But of course, the run in the Porsche, you've got to be so close, you've got to be within 2 tenths coming out of turn 13, and he's just not close enough as they head towards turn number 1. And Lever sets a personal best of 22.8080, but you can see all of them running in the 22s, all vying for that P4 in the gold class as they make the way up towards turn number 2 once again, but they're all line astern this time. Meanwhile, Mark Johnson here doing a little bit of a twitch to the outside. I think that's to try and get the signal to Armstrong. Look, you can have the place if you want. I don't want to battle with you, as Armstrong rolls his way through turn number 2 here and clearly up front in the battle for the bronze class lead. But as he makes his way on through, it is the case. We look back towards our overall leader and our platinum leader here of Jonathan Hitchin, who has made his pit stop. Of course, everybody has made their pit stop on the schedule now, and Hitchin leading by 4 seconds here and running away with the race. So we see Cy Anthony P2 and Sam Congreve P3 as it currently stands, and these guys separated by over what is 15 seconds to Austin William Campbell, who to be fair has run a faultless race, and his livery is finally loaded correctly as well, which is great to see. Has run an absolutely faultless race in P4. As meanwhile, I'm hearing that James Acklam has had a horror show moment coming out of turn number 9 unless I'm mistaken, but here comes Nathan Foster into 10. He'll put him on the outside into 11. He just does not have enough to get the move done, but he gets the cutback here into turn number 12. We ride on board with Nathan Foster as he heads to the right-hander of 12. In towards 13 he goes, and as they roll the way through the left-hander here, the fight carries on as they head up towards turn number 1. We're hearing it's the case that Stephen Masters landed off track, and he's dropped behind all of this. So now they're battling for the final spot on the gold podium. Well, that is a surprise and not a welcome one, to be sure, if you're Stephen Masters. But meanwhile, for these guys, it becomes ever more critical as they roll the way into turn number 2. Foster goes a bit deep there. He's literally sending the car into each every corner. He knows he's got to stay so close in the run down these straights, otherwise he's just not going to be there when it really matters through the corners. There's only 3 minutes on the clock plus the final lap. Meanwhile, the head of this group, here is Chris Edison, who's running away, staying behind the silver leader of Tyson Valenda. Alan Lever, meanwhile, he's under pressure, and Tillin looks inside into 4. Lever's made to go deep, and behind him, Foster's trying to come up through as well. Lever keeps at bay for now, but Tilling is really right now caught between a rock and a hard place. Does he commit to the move? Does he commit to the defense? I don't think he knows which way to turn as they make their way through the left into right of 6 and 7, and as they head down into turn number 9 right now, Tilling needs to try and get away from Foster, because Foster's only going to become more unrelenting as the laps wear down. They don't have long to go. The leaders, by comparison, our overall leaders already up towards turn number 4 in the next lap. We've got at least 2 more laps to go, and will is the case. Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen. Who's going to be there in P4 in the gold class? Edison, I think, has broken away enough to take that final spot on the gold podium, but Alan Lever right now, I think he's going to have to make that Lamborghini, which is already a very wide car, he's going to have to make it much wider, because that gap is only going to come down the final couple of laps as they head up towards turn number 2 once again. As they head up towards the hairpin this time around, you can see Stephen Masters there. We're not sure what happened. He had an off track towards the end of the previous lap. It is the case he's lost out massively there. I think there's a bit of a whack to the front of that Ferrari. Maybe the car just went away from him at the most critical moment. And to be fair, it is easy to lose it in mid-Ohio when you're really pushing 100% time and time again. So no blame for him there. But as we see Alan Lever rolling his way out towards turn number 4, Tilling takes another look, but this time he's nowhere near close enough. He does a little bit of a feint there. I think Alan Lever calls out his feint and says, you know what, I'm just going to simply park it on the apex into 5 and make you suffer for it. But Tilling this time thinks, oh, he's going to have to go for it. No, not close enough. As we ride on board the gearbox here of Alan Lever, hearing the roar of the Audi V10 engine, of course, in the back of this Lamborghini as they roll away into 8 and 9. You can see how in the end Tilling is close, but he's not close enough to make the move each and every time. I think he gets a little bit of an itch he wants to scratch. I think he wants to get his nose in there, but to do so, of course, into these corners, it's the case it requires a lot of awareness from the rival. He's trying to put his nose on the inside of, and whilst Alan Lever is aware, it's the case he's not going to let it go. But as they make their way through turn number 12, you can see how Nathan Foster closed up. There's Alan Lever parks them on the apex, and as they roll the way out to 13, using the straight line speed of the Lamborghini to try and pull the ground. But the thing, of course, with that 6-cylinder V3-litre BMW engine behind, it's fast at the straights, and as they make their way out the corner, Lever makes a mistake. He takes the cone for good measure, and as they make their way out towards turn number 2, Lever's going to go defence to the inside here. It's going to be Tilling round the outside. Can he go all the way round? It won't be done until they get to turn number 4. Lever squeezes him as much as possible. Tilling gets his nose in front. Meanwhile, Foster looks to the inside. It's going to be free wide up towards turn number 4. And as they roll their way through the kink of 3, Foster's going all in on the inside here. Lever backs out behind Tilling. Onto the brakes they go. Can Foster make it 2 for 1? No. He clears Lever, but he doesn't get ahead of Tilling. There's only 10 seconds to go. The leaders have gone on to the final lap. There'll be one more lap of racing after this one for the gold drivers. They charge through turn number 6, in towards 7 very shortly. And as they do at this point, Nathan Foster knows it's do or die on the next lap. He's got to get this position off of Tilling to keep that championship alive. Meanwhile, in the story of Peter Cox versus Carl McGurk is closing gradually, but he's not close enough right now to look at a pass. There's a 1.5 second gap. I think Peter Cox is safe on this final lap. We'll wait and see, of course, and keep you informed of the situation. But meanwhile, we look back here, and into turn 12 they're going. Tilling goes deep. Foster goes early into the apex. But as they roll the way out here, Nathan Foster trying to get that momentum out of the final corner as they head on towards the final lap. The white flag is out for them now. And as they head into left hand here, Nathan Foster's got to pull off a miracle now to turn number 1 to be close enough into 2. As he heads up towards the corner at this point, it's the case he's not quite there. I think he's going to have to take a breather and think about the latter half of the lap. As they make the way into turn number 2 at this point, we must look from them to our race leader, for as he makes his way into turn number 12, it has been a faultless race from start to finish, and whilst he's been crowned champion already over in the platinum class, it will be another win that Jonathan Hitchett takes here at Mid-Ohio today. Here is your winner in the end by 5 seconds over Cy Anthony P2 in the overall in the platinum class, and in Sam Congreve completes the overall and the platinum class podium in P3. They're brilliant driving from the trio, and then it will be Austin William Campbell who comes on through the last couple of quarters, sliding his way. I think that Ferrari is right on the threads right now as he makes his way through the final 2 quarters to take P4 in the 555 car, crossing the line, and then it will be Peter Cox, your winner in the gold class, with an absolute masterclass in strategy. P5 overall, going for the huge undercut ahead of Carl McGurk, who takes P2 in the gold class, P6 on circuit, and then it will be Tyson Valenda, who right now makes his way through the final couple of corners. Faultless performance from the Mercedes driver, and that will be the win in the silver class. P7 overall as he comes to the line, ahead of Chris Eddersford P8. Martin Till in the end holds on for P9 ahead of Nathan Foster to the finish, and I think you can feel the frustration from Foster there. What could have been a guaranteed win today. And Lever P11 in the end, Stephen Masters P12, and here's Mark Johnson, your bronze class winner P13. A superb driver, Mark Johnson, making him the #1 contender, it could be argued, in that championship battle and momentum in the bronze class. Rob Armstrong P14, Chris Hitchin P15 to round off what will be the silver podium and indeed the top 15. He comes to the line, he's your last driver to finish on the lead lap. Let's take a look then, ladies and gentlemen, at those race results, subject to stewards' inquiries, of course. So it is the case after 40 minutes of racing here today in round number 11 of the GT3 League Season 7, as brought to you by UK Sim Racing, sponsored by Swelio Ameda Sim Racing Coaching. It is one of those situations whereby Jonathan Hitchin taking that superb win in the end by 4.8 seconds overall ahead of Cy Anthony. Cy Anthony P2 ahead of Sam Congreve means that Cy Anthony will now be the major contender, or the lead contender we should say, in the battle for P2 in the Platinum class in the season finale. He will have the advantage going into that round. Austin William Campbell in a deserved P4 in the end, ahead of Peter Cox P5, and then Carl McGurk, Tyson Melinda, Chris Eddersford, Martin Tillin and Nathan Foster completing the top 10 overall. But more importantly, let's look at those individual class standings, and in this case, starting our Platinum class, of course, it is our 5 Platinum class drivers here, and well, Hitchin ahead of Anthony and Congreve to complete the podium, Campbell in that P4, and James Acklam, how it went so wrong towards the end for him in what was looking to be a day where he was in with a chance of being on that Platinum podium, but he'll look to bounce back from it today. And then we do look, of course, to our gold class, and in our gold class, confirmation there, Peter Cox taking that win by 1 second over Carl McGurk with that major undercut on the strategy. Carl McGurk, of course, I think he will feel as though if he had just found his feet a little bit earlier today at Mid-Ohio, he would have been able to go for that win outright rather than have to turn it into a recovery race. But at the same time, it is what it is for Carl McGurk, and he will take those points for P2 gladly, because that will further his championship lead going into the season finale, ahead of Chris Eddersford in P3. Chris Eddersford, with that switch to the McLaren, coming from the back of the field to finish P8 overall, P3 in class. A brilliant drive there from the now McLaren driver. Martin Till in P4, and then we do have in P5 then Nathan Foster recovering to P5 in the end. A brilliant effort to recover, but it means the season finale becomes ever more difficult. Alan Lever P6 wasn't able to hold on to the top 5 in the end, but a good defensive drive from him. But Stephen Masters P7, and how he'll be regretting the mistake towards the end of the race, and Stuart Brown finishing a lap down but finishing nonetheless. Then in the silver class, only 3 drivers, of course, today, but it was Tyson Belenda who looked unstoppable and infallible ahead of Rob Armstrong and Chris Hitchin. Of course, Chris Hitchin having that moment early on in the race on lap number 1, and well, the question would have been what could have been for Chris Hitchin if it hadn't gone wrong for the Symphony Esports driver. And then as for our bronze class, in this case, out of our 3 drivers here, Mark Johnson taking the win ahead of Darren Sharples and James Connolly. I mean, the gap between Johnson, Rocha and Sharples will be extremely close. And in fact, let's go from our race results to our championship standings. So it is the case that after 11 rounds with drop scores in effect now, we look to our overall standings of the top 20. And in terms of the coloration here, the groups that are in green show you the results which are counting towards a driver's total points tally, and we can see Jonathan Hitchin with 166 points has an unassailable lead at this point, hence why he was crowned our champion last time at the Nürburgring. So he had that unassailable lead with 2 rounds to go. Cy Anthony on 86 points, now the best part of what is, if my mental maths is correct, 8.5 points ahead of Sam Congreve, but still that battle for the overall P2 position, entwined with the battle for P2 in the Platinum class. It is the case we expect plenty from the pair of them going into the season finale. Carl McGurk in P4. Great drive from Carl McGurk today, and continue to hold on to that P4. Now the best part of what is 21 points clear of Nathan Foster in P5, and then Darren Orkett P6 ahead of James Armstrong, James Acklam, Damien Lobbett and Austin William Campbell, who moves to that P10 ahead of Will Mason there with today's result. A great drive from Austin William Campbell and Will Mason, the best of the rest outside the top 10 on what is their 21.5 points. But as we come to the Platinum class standings, Jonathan Hitchin, of course, for 166 points there again, our Platinum class champion. But Cy Anthony now, with the result today, just ahead of Sam Congreve. This means that effectively he now has a 4-point advantage to take into the season finale. They went into tonight with barely an advantage between the two of them, but now even 4 points is minimal. And of course, with it being a feature race, it means that double points are up for grabs, albeit with a drop score conundrum in there, so it could go either way between the two of them. And well, that will be fireworks on circuit. circuit at Road Atlanta. Darren Norquette in P4 on 60 points, gradually being closed up to by Austin William Campbell. And if Austin William Campbell's able to pull off a major result next week, there's no reason why he couldn't potentially snatch that P4 at the close. And then we do have Alexander Hill P6 ahead of Damien Lobbett, James Acklam, Will Mason and Alistair Kirk. And interestingly, there is the case that Acklam and Mason both on 35 points. Acklam ahead in P8 based on result countback. Stephen Kennedy, best the rest outside the top 10 in P11 on 30.5 points. And then as we come to the gold class standings, it is the case that we can see Carl McGurk on 133.5 points. The best part now of what is there, 28 points ahead of Nathan Foster. And as we said earlier, with what happened today for Nathan Foster, it does effectively mean it's now the case that Nathan Foster needs to pick up a maximum result and Carl McGurk needs to have a horror show at Road Atlanta for the championship to swing the other way. But of course, don't count Nathan Foster out. It is the case that anything can happen over the course of the final round of 90 minutes of races, so we'll keep our eyes on that. Martin Tillin in P3. It is the case that I think he'll be cementing that P3 next time out ahead of Ryan Davies, who on 52.5 points is only half a point clear of Nathan Scott. Joshua Pratt P6 ahead of Alan Lever, and then we do have Alan Lever, Peter Cox, Calvin Stewart and Chris Edison there in the run from where it's P7 to P10, separated by a margin of under 20 points. Indeed, expect there to be a change between them come the season finale, depending on how the results go. And the best of the rest outside of the top 10 there, Chris Constable in P11 on what is there, 25.5 points. And for those of you wondering why Sam Sherwood now listed as a gold driver, it was the case based on his performance last time out the Nürburgring. He was promoted to the gold class from the silver class, hence why he's now in P12 there in the gold standings. Congratulations to Sam for the promotion. Now we come to the silver class, and it is the case that Rob Armstrong today, with that consistent result, meaning that he's now on 122.5 points to Tyson Melendez 106.5, and with David Larson not in attendance today, it is the case that he'll be banking on a stellar performance at Road Atlanta to potentially swing the championship back to him at the finish, but that top three in the end only separated by a margin of what is 24.5 points. It could go any which way, but particularly between Valenda and Armstrong, that will be the big question. And then Chris Hitchin in P4, it is a case on 90.5 points. Could he potentially sneak away that P3 from Larson at the season finale? Colin Patterson in P5 ahead of Billy Bob Ray, the two Lamborghini drivers there. And it is the case, I don't think we'll be seeing Billy Bob Ray for the remainder of this season. He's had to, I believe, pull out at last minute notice. But, of course, just the personal circumstances, and we wish him all the best. Colin Patterson in P5, we can see that on 70 points. And I think he'll be feeling as though he's a little bit threatened by Ryan Williams come the finish on 52.5 points. But then we have Jason Orr, Joseph Manus and Matthias Becerra in the completion of the top 10. And Liam Murray, the best of the rest, outside the top 10 in P11. And then we come to our bronze class last but not least, and we can see here it is the case that Darren Sharples now leads going into the season finale by 1.5 points ahead of Oscar Rocha, who was not in attendance today, and Mark Johnson is only a further 3 points behind, and James Conley on 116.5 points. Well, I'll tell you one thing now, ladies and gentlemen, if there's nothing else at Road Atlanta to look out for in the platinum class, the gold class or the silver class, this bronze class, we promised you at the start of the season was going to deliver. We have got 4 drivers in contention for the bronze championship come the season finale, and it's going to be one to watch. The favourite, of course, is Oscar Rocha. He has been the driver of form all season, arguably, but both Sharples and Johnson have both resurged over the second half of the season, and Conley as well. What can he do as an outsider in this battle, given the pace he's been showing since Suzuka? We'll have to wait and see. Andrew Murray in P5 there, the best of the rest in the bronze class by far on 53.5 points, ahead of Christian Clark, Mark Cadmore, Tom Farrell, Kevin Wesley-Burt and Matthew Ricci to complete the top 10, and then just outside the top 10, but not to be forgotten out there, Matthew Gregg, Martin Chapman and Nigel Easy. But with that, those are the standings, ladies and gentlemen. And now it is time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching. And if you did enjoy the broadcast today, you enjoyed the racing you saw, and you want to know more about the UK sim racing community, then why not check out our official website, that is uksimracing.co.uk. Alternatively, if you're more of a Twitter person, go to twitter.com/UK to find out all the latest news and information and what's happening in UK sim racing. Also, a big thank you to our affiliates, that's Swallow Meadow Sim Racing Coaching, our sponsor for this series, and you can see their YouTube address there. We've also would like to say thank you to Race Anywhere, and for those who are not aware of Race Anywhere, they are the provider of curated sim racing equipment aimed to only stock products that represent excellent value for the sim racing community. And if you're more of a real world motorsport person, do not be shy of going to Demon Tweaks, because Demon Tweaks is the provider of the most complete and innovative motorsport product range available worldwide. So no matter what your level or discipline, Demon Tweaks could help drive you to realise your motorsport ambitions. And with these guys being our affiliates, affiliates, whether it's Swilly or Meda, Sim Racing Coaching, Race Anywhere, or Demon Tweaks. If you go to our website, uksimracing.co.uk, and go to our affiliate links and make a purchase through those links, it will be the case that you get a discount and we get a kickback off your purchase, which we fund into UK Sim Racing for future series. And just to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, it is the case that sign-ups are open currently to existing league members and will be open to non-league members as of 9 o'clock tomorrow evening for our upcoming seasons of racing, including the GT3 League Season 8. We've also got the Porsche Cup Season 4. We've also got the new Prototype Series Season 1, the multi-class series that's going to be involving what is the LMP2s and the Radical SR10s. And we've also, if you're more of a one-off person or a special event person, do not count out our endurance specials or Enduro MX5, TCR and GT4 races that are coming up later this year. It is the case that if you are not an existing league driver, just go to our website, uksimracing.co.uk, and you can sign up on the appropriate pages there, and existing league drivers can sign up now using the available sign-up channels in our official Discord. But if I haven't overloaded you with information, it is the case that everything and more is on our official website. But for our drivers, they won't be thinking about our website. They'll be thinking about only one thing. Next time, a week's time, the racing will happen on Sunday, the 4th of September, when we bring the curtain down on round number 12, Road Atlanta. It's going to be a roller coaster ride at the Petit Le Mans circuit in the United States of America. You will not want to miss it when we bring you all the racing action post-round on Monday, the 5th of September 2022. We still have a gold champion to crown, a silver champion to crown, and a bronze champion to crown. And who will finish second in the overall and the Platinum Class Championship between what is Cy Anthony and Sam Congreve? All that we'll find out then. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, we have been UK Sim Racing. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, but most importantly, remember to stay on track. Good night.